I got invited to this spiritual retreat by a Catholic lay ecclesial movement called Bonds of Marian Love, which started in Colombia 20 years ago, and it came to the U.S. Right around this time. And this retreat was really the turning point, I think, for my whole life. It was a spiritual conversion retreat, which they said, if you go in bad, you come out good, and if you go in good, you come out great. I think I was bad, so I came out okay. And then a couple months later, I did the same retreat, and I came out great, and now I'm a saint. Just kidding. But the second retreat was really what made like a radical change. You know, I left that retreat, and I deleted all the bad stuff from my Instagram. I was like, I'm not going to talk to these bad friends anymore, and that was a real change. I decided to become a missionary for this movement. And at that first retreat, one of the talks was on relationships. And it just so happens that this talk on relationships was given by my now husband. And he was born and raised in Ecuador. It's funny because you pray for your future spouse, like wherever they may be, and mine was literally across the country, and so across the world in a different country. And so he was giving this talk, and since he had just arrived, he didn't speak English that well. So he was like, boyfriend, girlfriend, and I thought that was so funny. And so I became should I take a break? Am I going too fast? So this is how my husband and I met on this retreat. And I got to know him better. And as I got to know him, I'm like, wow, this guy is literally the coolest guy that I have ever met in my entire life. And I didn't like him at first, which I now say is a really good thing. Because, I don't know if you can already tell, but I'm like a kind of a fun spirit, we'll call it that. I'm a little crazy and a little hyper, and so because I didn't like my husband in that way, at the beginning, I got to be myself. And that was a beautiful thing. And I always tell young couples at first, it's so important to just be friends, because there's no pressure, to act super, like, put together or extra, like, this is not who I am. I got to be completely myself, and lucky for me, he fell in love with that, and so it was really good. We were friends with no pressure. We didn't know that we liked each other for I think about a year. This order I recommend to all people discerning dating. After that, we told each other we liked each other by mistake. That's a different story. We told each other we liked each other. That's how we know it was the Lord, because we weren't going to do it. I wasn't going to tell him I liked him. He wasn't about to tell me. Now we're going to start praying to see if it's the Lord's will for us to date. Because at this retreat, and as I started my conversion process, I was praying to the Lord, the next guy that I date, I want it to be my future husband. I don't want to waste my time anymore. I don't know how you're going to do it, but the next guy, I want it to be him. And he was praying the same prayer. He said, Lord, I don't want to waste my time anymore. The next girl I meet, I want it to be my future wife. And so that's why we really took it seriously. We were really discerning. We went to the beach with his little cousin as a chaperone. He was 7 years old, and on the beach, he wrote in the sand. He's like, I'm going to play in the sand with my cousin. And said, ¿Quieres ser mi novia? In Spanish, will you be my girlfriend? And he got down on both knees. I guess he was really excited. And he asked me, and I said, of course, yes, we've been praying about it. And so we were dating for a year and a half. In that period, I went off to college to Franciscan University. And in college, we were doing long distance. We both discovered that his love language is quality time, because I was away, and obviously we weren't seeing each other that often. And so we were having a lot of issues, and I was sending him messages like, oh, I love you, I miss you, and I wouldn't commit for him. I'm like, but why? And it was because his love language was quality time. He needed me back, and I think he knew that the only way to get me back was to propose. It was January 1st on the solemnity of the Blessed Virgin Mary. We went to Mass. He proposed in that chapel, and it was beautiful because in that chapel also, before we dated, I prayed a novena to Saint Therese, and on the last day when I was asking the Lord for an answer, he showed up and surprised me with roses in that chapel. So I knew in that chapel that it was God's will for us to date. In that chapel, when we got engaged, he gave me roses for us to be married, and then we ended up getting married in that church. They say that the first year of marriage is the hardest, and I agree, it definitely is. But marriage definitely sanctifies you. I say my marriage isn't going to make me a saint. I don't know what will, because it's rough. But it is beautiful. And there's visible grace. There's visible grace in marriage for forgiveness and, just grace to get you through. Now we're married for a year and a half. We have a beautiful baby girl, Gianna Rose, who just turned 5 months old. And she is the joy of our lives. She is such a joy. She's such an easygoing baby. She loves people. She loves to smile. So she's just a really great joy. During my pregnancy with Gianna, being a first-time mom, everything was just very vivid to me. All the kicks that I felt in my womb, every stage that I was going through, it made the issue of abortion very vivid to me. But throughout my life, from a very young age, I've always had a passion to fight for the unborn. When I was in the 5th grade, I remember, I think it was 2012 or something, Obama was running against Hillary for the first time. And I was in line for dismissal with my 5th grade classmates, and some of them were talking about who they would vote for if they could vote. And they're like, oh, I'd vote for Obama, I'd vote for Hillary. And I butted in, I'm like, I wouldn't vote for either of them. And they're like, why not? And I'm like, well, because they stand for abortion. And then they're like, what's abortion? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to tell you tomorrow. And I wasn't really sure because I was in the 5th grade. And so I went home and I asked my mom exactly what it was. And she explained to me what it was, more, at 5th grade level. And I was in shock. And I confronted her, or she explained to me she felt really, confronted. And I said, Mom, well, what are you doing about it? And she's like, well, there's a March for Life. People march. And I'm like, okay, but what are you doing about it? And she said that really stuck with her. Like, what is she personally doing about it? And so that year was the first year that she took me to the March for Life. That was my first March for Life. And from then on, that's what really sparked this passion for me to protect the unborn. And since then, I've been to every March for Life I can get to. Now that I can, I'm more active on social media and proactive, doing everything I can to protect the unborn. Now I work for an organization called LifeNet, and our mission is to promote equal rights for babies in the womb through education, advocacy, and networking. And we also promote the chastity message as an antidote or as a solution to the abortion problem. And so we go around to different schools, confirmation groups, youth groups, basically any venue that we get invited to speak about the issue of abortion, pro-life apologetics, how to defend the truth against abortion, and also talks on chastity, which are my favorite to give. And one of the projects that we're working on currently at LifeNet is called the 2020 Project. And the end goal of the 2020 Project social movements, we know that symbols are very important. Just like, the breast cancer awareness symbol, we see the pink ribbon and we immediately know exactly what it means. Or the rainbow flag, we know what that stands for. And so we have our baby feet symbol with the color royal blue, and we want the symbol to be synonymous with the 2020 Project, so much so that people immediately see this baby feet and they know that that means equal rights for babies in the womb. So what we're doing with this 2020 Project is we're promoting a bill called the Pain-Capable Unborn Child's Protection Act, and we're encouraging our legislators to pass this bill to ban abortion past 20 weeks by the year 2020. We know that babies at 20 weeks can survive outside of the womb with the proper neonatal care, and so why wouldn't we protect them? Which would just be the first step in protecting all babies in the womb at all stages of life. With working for this organization, but even with my whole life, if you give God a small yes, He'll do crazy things with your life, way more than we could have ever dreamed of. I wanted authentic love. I wanted a marriage that would last. And when I gave God this yes at this retreat, I said, I'm going to leave everything behind. I want to give my life to you. And that doesn't mean becoming a nun. That was my vocation. But it doesn't mean praying 24/7, not talking to your family, not living a normal life. It means living out holiness, striving but just living out holiness, striving for sainthood in these things. The conversion process still continues. You know, it's an ongoing conversion. People don't say, I'm converted already. You know, it's ongoing. But today, my struggles are different than they were when I was single, when I was dating, engaged. Today, I'm just, you know, striving for holiness, striving to be a virtuous wife, first and foremost, very difficult. And a virtuous mom. Prayer is definitely needed between my husband and I. It's difficult to keep up with your spiritual life in the midst of work. He has a really intense job too, and I'm all over the place. When I was pregnant with Gianna, we told each other, we're like, we have to promise each other, we're gonna put each other first, you know, before our children. And that's how it should be, because when the parents put each other first, you can love your children better. You can give yourselves to the family better. Especially being a young wife and a young mom, it's difficult to, I don't know, to just balance all this hectic, like, finances and trying to save for our future and our spiritual life. But you know, I thank my husband all the time, and I tell him all the time, I'm like, babe, I look at you, and it's like, I look at the, you know, cute guy that I was in love with when we were dating. Like when you think about the guy and you're like, I can't wait to see you later, or you never want to leave him. And I'm like, wow, the guy that I was in love with when I was dating, we're now married, and I get to live with you all the time, and it's cool because I still like him. And so it's really beautiful. It's difficult, but you know, as a family, we just try to keep joy at the center of everything. At the center of everything. I mean, the Lord at the center of everything. But just finding joy in the hectic things, when we lose our cool, or when the baby's screaming, or when we have 40 billion things to do. Just like laughter and joy are the center of everything. Just keep us, you know, focused on our goal, which is to get to heaven. Was that real enough? I don't want to make marriage sound horrible, but it's hard.
Welcome back to Icons,